Have you ever wondered why some women walk with quiet confidence that no one can shake? Why certain people remain powerful even when they say very little? What if I told you that your peace, your power, and your purpose might be hidden, not lost? We live in a world that glorifies openness. Tell your story. Say it all. Be raw. Be vulnerable. Be transparent. But what if that constant exposure is costing you more than you think? What if you were never meant to reveal everything to everyone? What if, instead of oversharing to be seen, you were called to guard what's sacred, to protect the treasures of your heart, not because they are shameful, but because they are holy today? I want to talk to the women who feel pressure to explain their pain, announce their plans, and prove their love. I want to speak to the women who have opened their hearts only to be met with betrayal, who've shared their dreams only to have them ridiculed, who've exposed their soul only to feel misunderstood, misjudged, or manipulated. This message is for the woman who wonders, is it wrong to keep some things to myself? And to you, I say, no, it is not wrong. In fact, it is wisdom. There are 3 things every woman should learn to keep sacred, not because she's hiding, but because she's wise. Not because she's distant, but because she's discerning. Not because she's guarded, but because she's guided. Let me be clear, this is not about living in fear. This is about living with boundaries. This is not about bottling up your truth. It's about releasing it only into the right soil, where it can grow, not be trampled. Because here's the truth. The most valuable treasures in life are always hidden first. Diamonds form underground. Pearls form in the depths. Gold is buried in the dark before it ever shines in the light. And so it is with the woman of wisdom. She learns to hide 3 things, not forever, but for the right time and the right people. So let's begin with the first thing, her pain. We are told that vulnerability is power. And yes, vulnerability can be healing when offered in safe places. But what happens when your vulnerability becomes someone else's entertainment? What happens when you tell your story to the wrong audience? You see, not everyone deserves access to your wounds. Not everyone is mature enough to hold your pain with compassion. And not everyone is spiritually safe enough to hear the weight of your story. There's a difference between confession and connection. A difference between being authentic and being exposed. And far too many women are bleeding publicly, hoping that someone will offer a cure, when in truth, healing comes from God, not from likes, sympathy, or shallow advice. Your pain is sacred. It's personal. And until it's been processed in the presence of God, it should be held close. You don't have to explain the trauma that still aches in your bones. You don't have to justify the decisions you made in survival mode. You don't have to recount the betrayal, the heartbreak, or the humiliation to every person who asks. Your pain is a part of your story, yes, but it is not the headline. And if you keep giving away the most intimate pieces of your life to people who haven't earned your trust, you will start to believe their version of your story more than your own. You will start to shrink under their commentary. You will start to doubt what God is still in the process of redeeming. But when you learn to hide your pain in God, first, to pour it out before Him instead of people, something powerful happens. You start to heal. You start to see clearly. You start to separate your identity from your suffering. Because your pain isn't your identity. It's your process. And it's meant to be held in holy hands, not handed out to just anyone. So take your time. Let your story unfold in layers. Tell the parts that are ready, not the ones still bleeding. You don't owe the world your wounds. You owe yourself the gift of healing. And when the time comes, God will show you who can handle the deeper pages of your story. Not everyone, not many, but the few who are safe, steady, and sent. Now let's talk about the second sacred thing, your plans. How many times have you excitedly shared your vision, only to be met with confusion, criticism, or condescension? How often have you poured out your dreams, only to watch them wither under someone else's doubt? That's because plans, like seeds, need to be protected while they're still growing. If you expose a seed too early, it dies. If you dig it up every time someone questions it, it will never take root. Not everyone can see what God has shown you in private, and they're not supposed to. Your calling was whispered to you, not announced to the crowd. Your next step was given in prayer, not printed on a flyer. When you start revealing your plans to people who lack vision, don't be surprised if they try to shrink it. When you tell dreamless people about your calling, don't be shocked if they try to dismiss it. You don't need agreement to be obedient. You don't need a cheer squad to follow the Holy Spirit. What you need is focus, and focus requires silence. Space, protection. It requires wisdom to know. Just because I'm excited doesn't mean I should share it right now. Your plans are not meant to be performative. They are meant to be planted, prayed over, nurtured, and then revealed in God's timing. When you move in silence, you move in power. And when you let God announce your harvest, instead of trying to prove your seed, the fruit speaks louder than words ever could. So keep it between you and God until it's strong enough to withstand outside opinions. Because what you hide in faith today will bloom in power tomorrow. And now we come to the third sacred thing a woman must protect. Perhaps the most misunderstood, yet most powerful of them all, the depth of her love. Love is a beautiful force. It's life-giving, soul-awakening, and divinely designed. But when mishandled, love can become the very thing that breaks us. Because the deeper you love, the more vulnerable you become. And when that love is placed into unworthy hands, it no longer becomes a gift, it becomes a weapon. That's why a wise woman learns not every heartbeat should be heard. Not every emotion should be exposed. Not every desire should be declared. You may feel the depths of love rising within you, and that's not wrong. You may feel deeply for someone who makes your soul sing, and that's not weakness. You may want to give, serve, nurture, support, because that's who you are. But just because you feel it doesn't mean you have to show it. Just because you love someone doesn't mean they're ready to receive that love well. So many women fall into the trap of giving all of themselves too soon, not because they're foolish, but because they're genuine. But sincerity without discernment is dangerous. It's like offering treasure to someone who doesn't even recognize gold. And here's the truth no one likes to say. Not everyone deserves your love. In its fullness, some people are only meant to experience your presence, not possess your heart. Some are only meant to learn from you, not lead you. Some are sent to reveal something about you, not to remain with you. When you give your heart to someone who lacks spiritual maturity, emotional integrity, or relational responsibility, you are entrusting something sacred to someone who might just trample it. And then you're left feeling empty, ashamed, angry, wondering what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong by loving. But maybe you erred in giving the deepest parts of you to someone who hadn't proven they could carry even the smallest. Love is not weakness, but unrestrained love without spiritual discernment is dangerous. So how do you protect it? You learn to pace it. You give time room to reveal truth. You observe before you open. You let people show you who they are when you're not performing for them. You listen not just to their words, but to their patterns. You discern not just how they treat you, but how they treat God. And then, only then, do you allow the sacred well of your affection to rise slowly, not impulsively. Because when love is offered at the right time, to the right soul, under the right covenant, it doesn't drain you. It fulfills you. It doesn't leave you anxious. It gives you peace. It doesn't need to be chased. It stands with you. So if you're carrying love right now, guard it. Let it sit quietly in your spirit. Let it be a conversation between you and God. Let it be a prayer before it ever becomes a performance. Because when the time is right, and the person is ready, and the purpose aligns, that love won't have to be proved. It will be protected. And that's the difference. Immature love demands display. Mature love builds safety. Immature love wants ownership. Mature love offers stewardship. So don't mistake your ability to love deeply as a reason to love carelessly. You are not a woman who gives herself away for attention. You are a woman who holds herself back for alignment. You're not hiding love. You're honoring it. And when the right person, ordained by God, steps into your life, you'll be able to offer that love without fear, because it will land in hands that understand its worth. Let me tell you something powerful. Not every sacred thing is meant to be seen by everyone. Some parts of you were designed to be reserved. Some dreams meant to be private. Some prayers meant to be whispered in secret. Some emotions only to be unraveled in front of God. You were never called to be an open book for anyone to skim. You are a sacred story. Read slowly with reverence, one page at a time, by those who were meant to know you. That is the strength of a woman who walks in wisdom. She doesn't explain her silence. She doesn't defend her boundaries. She doesn't overcompensate to be loved. She moves in discernment. She waits in grace. She protects what God is still building inside her. And while others might mistake her restraint as coldness, heaven knows it's holy, because there is nothing more powerful than a woman who knows what to share and what to keep sacred. You don't have to tell everyone everything. You don't have to unpack your entire soul for people who've only rented a seat in your life for a moment. You don't need to announce your healing, your next move, or your deepest desire. You are allowed to move in silence. You are allowed to keep your peace to yourself. You are allowed to be known. Selectively. The world today often equates visibility with value. We're told that if no one knows what we're doing, then it must not be important. We're taught to shout our pain, publicize our progress, and document every emotion in real time. But what if that constant exposure is costing us our power? Because here's the hard truth. What's constantly shared is rarely sacred. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is to stay silent, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. When Jesus healed people, he often told them, tell no one. Why? Because not everything is meant to be broadcast. Some things are meant to be cherished in the secret place. That principle still holds true. The most powerful women I know aren't the ones who reveal every battle. They're the ones who fought quietly and came back stronger without ever needing to explain how. They weren't loud. They were steady. They weren't flashy. They were faithful. They weren't desperate to be seen. They were determined to be aligned. And alignment requires protection. Let's take a moment to really grasp this. Everything in your life that is destined to grow must be protected before it is projected. Your purpose needs a season of silence. Your heart needs a place of covering. Your next move needs time to mature before it's announced. And when you live like this, when you walk in quiet obedience, you start to notice something. You're less anxious, less reactive, more discerning, more whole. You begin to experience the beauty of mystery, not as a burden, but as a blessing. You see, mystery isn't manipulation, it's maturity. Mystery is how God hides the most beautiful things. Look at the way he wrapped Jesus in a womb, hidden for 9 months before revelation. Look at how he hides seeds in soil, stars in space, pearls in oysters. God treasures what he hides. And what he hides, he protects. So when God calls you to hide, to keep your pain private, your plans protected, your love preserved, he is not withholding glory. He is preparing it. And when the time comes, he will unveil what he's been building in secret. You won't need to prove anything. You won't need to defend your silence. Your fruit will speak. Your peace will preach. Your presence will carry weight. Because women who move in wisdom don't fight to be seen. They rest, knowing that God sees everything. He sees your tears. He sees your faith. He sees the decisions you made that no one clapped for. He sees the self-control it took to stay silent. He sees the grace you walked in when you could have sought revenge. He sees the love you carried even when it wasn't returned. And in due time, he honors it all. But you must be patient in the process. You must trust him with the parts of your life that still feel unfinished. You must resist the temptation to speak too soon, move too fast, or reveal too much. Because just like a cake that's pulled from the oven too early, what's half-baked can't hold. Let God finish what he started. Let him strengthen the roots. Before the fruit is visible, let him be the one to announce you, not your own fear of being forgotten. Because you're not forgotten, you're not behind, you're not hidden as punishment. You're hidden as preparation. So here's what I encourage you to do today. Guard your pain like it's sacred, because it is. Protect your plans like they're blueprints from heaven, because they are. Preserve your love like it's royalty, because it should only be given to someone who knows how to carry a dot. And in the meantime, walk in peace, don't rush, don't panic, don't over-explain. You are not obligated to reveal everything just because someone asks. You are not cold. You're careful. You are not secretive. You're sacred. And any relationship, friendship, or space that demands you to sacrifice that sacredness isn't rooted in respect. It's rooted in control. You don't owe anyone full access to your soul. Access is earned, not demanded. And the people who truly belong in your life will honor your boundaries, not test them. They'll protect your heart, not pressure it. They'll stand with you in silence, not just celebrate you in success. So give yourself permission to be selective. To be slow. To be quiet. To be wise. You are a woman of God, and your words, your energy, your trust, your dreams, your love, all of it carries weight. Don't give it away lightly. You see, when a woman learns the art of holy restraint, she unlocks a dimension of freedom that no applause can give and no criticism can take away. She no longer feels the need to convince anyone. She no longer needs to explain why she walks away, why she keeps quiet, or why she guards her energy. She doesn't chase clarity from people who've already shown confusion. She doesn't hand over her peace just to avoid being misunderstood. Because she knows this. Peace is not a luxury. It is a protection. And protection begins when you decide what deserves your exposure. Think of it like this. You don't leave your home with your most valuable possessions hanging out of your pockets, do you? You don't carry your jewelry in your hand, waving it around for the world to see. You protect it. You store it carefully. You wear it with discernment, depending on where you're going and who you'll be with. Why? Because it's valuable. Then why would you treat your heart, your calling, your healing, your love with any less care? Your soul is worth more than gold. Your mind is not a stage for public rehearsal. Your emotions are not to be passed around like small talk. You are royalty, not in a boastful sense, but in a biblical sense. You are a daughter of the King. And royalty doesn't reveal everything. Royalty doesn't react to everything. Royalty doesn't rush to prove anything. Royalty walks with intention. Royalty speaks with wisdom. Royalty moves with grace and mystery. The Bible says in Proverbs 29:11, a fool vents all his feelings, but a wise person holds them back. This doesn't mean you bottle everything up. It means you allow the Holy Spirit to be your filter, not your trauma, not your fear, not your audience. And that's the posture of a woman who's growing. She may still feel tempted to overshare, especially in moments of emotion. She may still long for someone to validate her process, especially when it's lonely. But she learns to pause, to pray, to ask herself, is this the right place? Is this the right time? Is this the right person? And most of the time, when she truly listens, the answer is no, because God is calling her to something higher. He is calling her to a level of spiritual maturity where validation doesn't come from views, likes, or nods, but from that deep inner yes that only heaven can give. It's not always easy to walk this way. Sometimes you'll feel misunderstood, misread, mischaracterized. Sometimes people will call you distant, cold, guarded, even selfish, but you will know the truth. You are not operating out of fear. You are living out of wisdom. You are not avoiding connection. You are building healthy, sustainable connection with the right people in the right season. You are not emotionally unavailable. You are spiritually aligned. And when you live like this long enough, something shifts in your spirit. You start attracting people who value your depth, not demand your details. You start recognizing energy that feels safe, not just familiar. You start releasing the need to be gotten and replacing it with the need to be obedient. Because when your identity is rooted in God, you stop negotiating it with man when your plans are in his hands. You stop marketing them to crowds. When your emotions are processed in his presence. You stop performing them for reactions. And when your love is filtered through his wisdom, you stop giving it to people who only came for your light, but not your truth. So what happens when you live this way? You become clearer, sharper, stronger, kinder, even more joyful. Because nothing drains a woman faster than giving herself to everyone and everything, all the time. But when you conserve your spirit, when you learn to protect your inner world, you no longer burn out trying to be everything to everyone. You become a well-watered garden. You grow in secret, in strength, in serenity. And in due season, you flourish. You bloom with grace, dignity, discernment, and power. Not loud, not chaotic, not attention-seeking, but solid, peaceful, unshakable. And when people finally see what God has been building in you all along, they'll say, "Where did she come from?" But you and God will know. You didn't come out of nowhere. You came out of obedience. Out of seasons of pruning, out of nights of prayer, out of wisdom that told you you don't have to tell the world everything. You just have to trust the one who already knows. So here we are. You've walked with me through the quiet strength of wisdom, through the beauty of restraint, through the sacredness of holding back what the world demands you reveal. And maybe, by now, something inside you has shifted. Maybe you're realizing that the life God has called you to live doesn't require you to overexpose yourself just to feel accepted. Maybe you're seeing that your pain, your plans, and your love are gifts, not marketing tools. Maybe, for the first time, you're beginning to understand that not everyone who asks for access deserves entry into your holy places. Let me remind you again, you are not cold for keeping things to yourself. You are not prideful for waiting to share. You are not less spiritual because you don't spill everything in front of an audience. You are wise. You are discerning. You are growing in grace and maturity. And the truth is, God is proud of you for it. The enemy wants you impulsive, reactive, emotionally drained, and always needing to be seen. But heaven wants you anchored, still, and full of peace, because your value is not in your visibility. It's in your depth. Think about that. Shallow rivers are noisy, always crashing, always flooding. But deep waters are quiet, still, and mysterious. They move with power, not performance. And so should you. Your strength isn't in how loudly you announce what you're doing. It's in how faithfully you obey when no one sees. Your worth isn't found in how many people know your heart. It's found in how fully your heart belongs to God. Your beauty isn't in what's exposed. It's in what you've chosen to protect. So here's your reminder. Just because the world is loud doesn't mean you have to be. Just because they want a show doesn't mean you owe them a performance. You are not here to perform. You are here to become. You are here to evolve quietly, intentionally, deeply. And you don't need an audience for that. You just need God and a little bit of trust in the woman He's shaping you to be. So if you're in a season where you feel the pressure to explain yourself, don't. If you're tempted to overshare just to feel seen, pause. If you're being told that silence equals weakness, smile and walk in peace. Because you know the truth. You are a woman of depth, a woman of stillness, a woman of power that doesn't need to be shouted to be felt. And when the time comes, when the pain is healed, when the plan has matured, when the love is safe, you will know exactly who to share it with. Because that's the beauty of God's timing. He won't just give you something to say. He'll also send the right people to hear it. Until then, remain planted, remain protected, remain hidden in Him. Because some of your greatest breakthroughs will happen in silence. Some of your deepest healing will take place when no one else is watching. And some of your most powerful moments will occur not when you're seen, but when you're still. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to trend. You just need to obey. Because obedience will take you where exposure never could. Obedience is what brought Esther to the palace. Obedience is what led Ruth to Boaz. Obedience is what took Mary from ordinary girl to mother of the Messiah. They weren't loud. They weren't flashy. They weren't chasing attention. They were just faithful with what God gave them in the silence. And look what God did. So today, I bless your silence. I bless your hidden place. I bless your sacred journey that no one else may ever fully understand. And I pray you never again feel the need to overshare what God asked you to hold. Close, you are not overlooked. You are being overshadowed by the presence of the Most High. You are not behind. You are right on time in heaven's calendar. You are not invisible. You are protected. So rise up. Daughter of God. Move in grace. Speak when led. And when you're unsure, stay quiet and stay close to God. Because He will always show you what to say, when to speak, and who to trust. You don't need to shout your worth. You simply need to know it. And when you do, the world won't be able to ignore it, because your life will speak. If this message touched your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video if it helped you feel seen, strong, and safe in your silence. Share this with a sister who's been carrying her story alone. Comment below. What part of this message reminded you of your worth? Subscribe to the channel for more spirit-led encouragement every week. Let's create a movement of women who no longer feel guilty for being private, but who embrace it as part of their power. You are a woman of God, and you were never meant to be understood by everyone, only by the one who created you. Be still. Be bold. Be hidden until God says, now, amen.